Hi, I'm Brad Ellis, and I have finished The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom.
I'm Michael Damiani, and I have also finished Tears of the Kingdom.
I'm Gabby Montoot, and I too have finished The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom.
Spoiler mode starts right now.
Spoiler mode, final warning, spoiler mode, activated.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. It is time, finally. Gabby's been nagging us to get this done, but yes, we need to get it done. Many things have happened over these past
Nagging
weeks.
and henpecking.
Yes.
June 29.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
What day did it come out?
May 12th.
12th.
May 12th.
Wow, okay.
So, a lot of stuff got in the way, but we finally got it done.
Yeah.
We're doing it right now. Time to talk about Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Some viewers or listeners might know, me and Dummy have talked about this game before, obviously on Frame Trap, but Gabby, we have not heard much from you. Now, why don't you tell the audience a little about your Zelda history, because you told me about it, and I thought it was interesting.
I have not played a lot of Zelda.
Yeah, exactly.
I have Ocarina of Time on DS, and I played some of that, but never finished it. And I played Breath of the Wild. I've seen a lot of Zelda, other games, but my Zelda knowledge is near zero.
Near zero?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm interested about your perspective from a lot of this. So, why don't we'll just start very general. Like, what did you think about the game overall?
I liked this one more than Breath of the Wild. And Breath of the Wild is one of my favorite games. So, correct me if I'm wrong, it felt very much like, in the way that Majora's Mask is like the edgy cousin of Ocarina of Time, this felt like the edgy cousin of Breath of the Wild.
Okay. Edgy cousin. Very intense. I guess, like, what do you want to talk about, like, specific-wise about this game we got to talk about? Like, what's the edgy part for you, necessarily, I guess?
It's dark. It's way darker than Breath of the Wild, and scarier. Like, when I first came upon the Gloom Hands, and just, like, the screen got red, and I was like, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And those are the fastest enemies in the game.
Yeah,
and they
fast.
just, consume you.
Grab you, pull you, dude. Yeah, they are brutal.
Yeah.
What do you think, Damiani, overall? We've talked about it a little bit, but time has passed. How are you feeling about it now?
Do you remember anything about the game?
Yeah. Let me set aside Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah, really.
I think it greatly benefited from having the sky and the depths added in there.
Yeah.
I think without those two things, the other things they did differently might not have been enough for someone like me. But because I was constantly having to think about, I might need to go up and do something up there that will do something to unlock something on the surface, or maybe there's something in the depths I need to get that will, like, aid me up here. And, like, I played most of the game without even going into the depths, which was really a testament to how flexible this game is in terms of your approach to it, that they really did not intend you to have to do a lot of things just like the spirit of Breath of the Wild. And I appreciate that, even though there was an NPC that, like, clearly told me, there's this thing called the depths, and, like, there's this hole here, and, like, we're researching it, and, like, maybe you could try exploring it at some point. I'm like, I just kept playing and forgot about it. And then something finally sent me down there. I'm like, I'm finally going down one of these holes. What's this going to... and I was like, it is a giant underworld. I was like, I thought it was just going to be maybe
like
little
small,
pockets
of
underground. And it was like, no, it's literally the entirety of the underworld of Hyrule. It's like,
and
wow.
When did you notice that it was the exact, like, opposite of Hyrule? Like, wherever there's mountains,
I didn't notice that for a long time.
So... Yeah, I didn't, it seems obvious when you just, like, look at the maps, you should just toggle between them. It should, but it wasn't until I read a comment that pointed out that the impassable parts of the depths is actually the bodies of water on the surface. Yeah. And I was like, then I started thinking, like, they actually accounted for all this, and it all flows together. And I'm like, this is actually kind of impressive, and now I get why this took so long, because they literally crafted a second world. It's physically as big. The sky obviously is dotted with fewer things, but it's still quite a bit up there. And that was very impressive to me. I will say the depths, like its gimmick of like kind of like fumbling around in the dark, and like it had a lot of intimidation factor. Like
Terrifying.
a lot of like large swaths of the gloom that was just like scattered about, and just generally coming across like enemies at inconvenient times. Like no, I don't want to deal with you. I just want to go over here. Why is it? Then they're like also bosses down there, just like remedial bosses,
harder versions of the bosses that you fight on the server.
Yeah. So they did a good job with like that. I will say on a personal level, I probably would have preferred like a new, more traditional overworld environment to supplement.
Yes.
Like I would have been cool with like, here's normal Hyrule with all its normal changes that they did in Tears of Kingdom. Also, here's a new continent over here with like extra stuff. So it was different and like it was unique going through. I probably would not want that again. And if they're gonna do like an underground, like make it like lit in like I
was pretty over having to like toss the little light blue seeds like over and over.
And I get there's an outfit which I did eventually find that helps you illuminate a little bit better.
And you can make a car and put bright bloom seeds as headlights. I did that.
Yeah, I get they were trying to like use some other of your tools, but at the same time, part of me just wished you do eventually see it when you light up all the light routes. But it didn't have the same feeling as exploring the surface. I get they're going for something different. I appreciate that. I kind of would still rather have just like another overworld surface, or had the sky more like just more occupying the sky. I would have even preferred that.
I liked how different, like, for the underground, it was just Hyrule like this or whatever, and I liked how different navigating the sky was. I liked having to use your glider and all these, crazy machines to like shoot yourself to a big Death Star orb in the sky. Yeah.
It felt more fun, and I think a little bit less frustrating going through the sky, because in the depths, it'd always be a little bit more frustrating when darkness obstructed. May have ran out of the light seeds, or there's something obscuring my view. So, like, how do you figure this out? Where in the sky, I can always see something in the distance. Like, I'm like, can I even make that? Let's try this. And it's like, all right, I don't have enough stamina to get there. Or you get to one of the platforms where it has those launchers. Let me turn it and see. Then let me build. Like, I felt more encouraged to build stuff too in the sky. Like, let me build something that lets me fly or get higher, and I can go further. Whereas in the depths, shockingly, I did the least amount of like building in the depths.
I kept feeling like I would build something really complicated, and then I would get to an area where I couldn't use it anymore, and I would lose it.
I was very much paranoid that like it would have a shorter shelf life, essentially.
Yeah.
It wasn't until eventually when we got the robot companion that I would start like putting on some of those parts to help its attacks and like give it the speed boost for its back, and like let's just go turbo speed so it can like go past things really quickly.
Yeah, Koshimitsu was asking kind of what we thought about the depths overall, and like we touched on some of the things he was talking about. But I guess for the depths for me was very interesting because, like you said, it was a whole new underworld and it was very dark, and I really liked that mechanic about it being dark. And I really liked the gloom too, of this thing that would take away your max health.
Oh yeah,
very
that added
threatening.
some tension. I mean, it's a Zelda game. It's not trying to be super hardcore or anything like that, but it did add a nice element. And getting an actual light route to light up an area felt really good.
That did.
Really good every time.
Yeah, that definitely had a really good payoff. I maybe would have personally liked a little bit more down there as well. Obviously, they had like a lot of scattered ruins, which had like usually a piece of gear hidden in there.
There's some like Yiga clan hideouts.
A lot of like the schematic hideouts, which had like some kind of battles
Blueprints
against
and
Yiga.
schematics, yeah.
There was like the Master Koga quest line down there as well,
Which
that
I
got a little
loved.
bit more involved.
So I guess he's been down there since Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, they kind of retreated
Just
down
hanging
there.
out.
Yeah, searching for a new way to help out their Ganondorf,
Right.
Yeah.
whichever they it was a little unclear. We'll get to that later.
Oh, we're gonna get
We'll
to
get that
this.
later. Don't need to get that.
Oh, yeah.
And there were a few like we talked about some of the monsters, but like there was like a shout out to like the multi-elemental Gleeok hidden down there in its own
Yeah.
arena, which was like terrifying.
There's also one in the sky.
Yeah, that one I found too, and I was like, oh,
That's
there's
the first one I
up
fought.
there too.
Yeah.
So shout out to those, and then the one area that you could only access that was like isolated from like the rest of the
Yeah,
southeast
it's pain in the
corner.
ass.
That was
There were
like
a couple of those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like they had some like little hidden nooks and crannies
Yeah.
in there that were kind of like actually intriguing. I just need maybe a little bit more of that.
You know, my favorite part about the depths, Damiani and Gabby, is the shout out of me complaining about Breath of the Wild and the fucking amiibos having to get the gear.
Yes.
They listen
Yes,
and
you
put
know-
the gear
yes.
actually
Yeah.
down there.
That was cool. And it's not like rusty. It's
Correct.
Right, so it lasts way
Yeah.
longer.
And I got to wear the Tunic of the Wild very early on in the game, and I was so happy I could actually wear a Zelda tunic that's not at the end of the game when I've done like 98% of the content in the
Yeah,
game. I was like,
yeah.
finally,
Yeah.
thank you.
Also, those. Yeah, I really appreciated that. That was a very good way to reward that. They also those challenge arenas. Those like
combat challenge arenas?
Fucking the
Yeah,
Lionel
those are cool.
Arena.
Final one. Oh, I found a way to
I
cheese
fought that bitch with one heart. Because I got all my like gloomed out all my
So
hearts.
in that arena, I mean, when there's the two of them, maybe just fight them normally. But like the last, like really hard two, there's a corner or there's a wall you can back up that has like dirt ramp, and it'll toggle. If you get too far away from them, it'll just start shooting arrows at you that
Right.
will clip through the ceiling, so you can't just dodge them.
Yeah.
What you can do is you can keep kind of strafing. So that they start the animation and then move back closer and it'll cancel it. And then I found out you didn't even do that. All you have to do is like keep them in a certain range where they'll shoot the bow at you.
Yeah.
Like, and just keep strafing left and right.
you can just, like-
and I let all my like little allies just chip away to him. And I was like just sitting back there like cool. All right, I
that
didn't
thing
have to
used
do
all my
anything.
resources.
Yeah, I learned my lesson. That I was like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna let my team take care of this.
Damiani, let's talk about this. This is from Level Capybara. What are your thoughts about Ganondorf's Tears of the Kingdom portrayal? Were you satisfied with Tears of the Kingdom Ganondorf as a main villain, a final boss, a character played by Matthew Mercer, and an all-around hunk? Question mark. And how would you rank this iteration of Ganondorf compared to the others in the Zelda series? So, Damiani, that was one of the biggest criticisms for you and me in Breath of the Wild was the story.
Yep.
How are you feeling about like Ganondorf? Both of you, obviously, and the entire story and how it's presented.
So, yeah, my perspective is this. Calamity Ganon was like this nameless threat that had no character definition.
Right.
So the stakes were, it was just, you needed to defeat it because otherwise it's going to finish its job and destroy the world. But there wasn't any like personal tension there. It was just, and there wasn't really any
Right.
background.
It was like, why? Who cares?
It was just like
Yeah.
nebulous evil entity with like no real story behind it. So that was a bit of a letdown given some of the past depictions of the villains, including Ganondorf or Ganon. This one, obviously, they gave more story. They were clearly taking a lot of inspiration from Ocarina of Time.
Yeah,
It's like a retelling of Ocarina of
Yeah.
Time in a different way. And that was kind of cool. But I still feel that it was ultimately not very well developed. And as Ganondorf, while he was very menacing, and his Phantom Ganon iterations were very fun, like the encounters
I love
were
Phantom
like
Ganon.
So cool.
encounter-wise, very satisfied. Like the most satisfying since probably the Twilight Princess encounter of like the multiple forms. Character-wise, a little bit of a letdown.
Sure.
Including like those the Tears flashback scenes where you see what's going on in the past with Ganondorf when Zelda traveled back there. You're getting like he's the leader of the Gerudo. He wants to, he wants to get Hyrule, but it was still like I'm just the bad guy. I'm evil. Like I'm ruthless.
Yeah,
like,
it's like just
I don't
hand
think-
wringing.
Yeah, and
I don't think you're gonna get
arch.
that Wind Waker moment you want,
So
Damiani.
it fell back into the pitfall of the older Zeldas where Ganon is bad. He's a bad dude.
Yeah.
He's bad. There's no
Just
real
trust us,
explanation.
he's bad.
just a bad
Yeah.
dude, and everyone's following him because like they want to be bad. Like it also kind of like they didn't even tackle the benefit of the doubt angle for the Gerudo as a people. Where in Ocarina of Time, they had characters who like, there are some of us who disagree with Ganondorf's philosophy.
Yeah.
We don't like what he's doing. He's not a good leader. They didn't even really do that perspective in this. They're just like, in the past, it just showed like all of them as like, we're a warrior race that's like ready to invade Hyrule and follow this dude's like, I guess he's
king, yeah.
first dude born every 100 years, so he has to be our leader. It's our tradition. Like, it was just unquestioned and presented as something we've already seen. It was played out, boring, and old. And I thought we were going to get a new take on it, and that moment never materialized. And ultimately, it felt, as a character, very underdeveloped and not very rewarding.
Yeah, I guess so too. I think he had a good presence of intimidation. Like you said,
Yes.
I absolutely agree. I kind of wanted a little more to it, I guess, but like, it was hard for me not to be too upset because it's such an improvement over Breath of the Wild. And I was like, oh, thank God.
It was just nothing.
But it was something. But yes, Tom, and I definitely do want it to go further.
I will also say, so in Breath of the Wild, when you defeat Ganon the first time, and then you go outside and you defeat like he's a bull, right? Version of Ganon.
Yeah.
When I played that, I was like, I don't know why he's a bull. I don't know what's going on
His
here.
pig
like,
form
fuck
Ganon.
this.
Yeah,
Sure,
it's just,
but
yeah.
it was like, okay, why? But then in this one, I felt like that final, like, it's difficult to fail there when you're riding the Zelda dragon.
Yeah.
It's nearly impossible. But I felt that was more justified.
Yeah.
That, like, transformation
Exactly.
into the dragon.
It was definitely earned.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I like
it
that
was.
way better.
Yeah.
That-
I agree.
that- yeah,
absolutely.
definitely.
I mean, the boss fight was way better.
Oh, yeah.
Way better.
Like, yeah, the hit all the right notes on the spectacle.
Yeah.
Like, that was, I mean, you might not
Hold on,
make-
pause that. We're going to
Okay,
come
yeah.
back to bosses.
Okay.
I want to talk about Rauru and
Okay.
the queen. What was her name again? I forgot.
Which one?
The
It's
Queen of
some,
Hyrule.
Like, just regular.
I can't
it's
remember.
Like
off the top-
Sonya?
Yeah, that
Sonya?
sounds-
Oh, you
sounds
mean,
right.
no,
Okay,
his
okay.
wife.
Yeah, what did you
Sonya.
think about like that whole thing about, yo, this is the first king of Hyrule and all that kind of stuff?
Again?
Once again, the story is like, what the fuck's happening in this
Okay.
timeline shit?
Oh, I have a question
ahead.
about the timeline, too.
Oh boy. Okay.
Can I sit? Go ahead, ask your question. Because I was going to say something that might
So-
answer it, but go ahead.
Okay. So Zelda in the past. She's in the past.
Yes.
She eats the tear.
Yes.
And she becomes a dragon.
Yes.
She's now a dragon
Yes.
for hundreds of years.
Thousands of years.
Thousands
Yes.
of years.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
order to help Link in the present.
Yes.
So who is the Zelda at the beginning of the game?
Oh, so to rectify this, there have to be two Zeldas now. So when Zelda's
Cool.
when Zelda's born, there's the Zelda born normally when like around like Link, Link and Zelda are about the same age. So like Breath of the Wild, 100 years before the start of Breath of the Wild, like they're like what, teenagers? So like
Yeah.
add like 15 to 20 years before that. They're born at that same time when they're alive. In the past, Zelda Dragon catches up to when they are. Apparently, she's just in the sky somewhere chilling, like.
Okay,
Which might
so
mean there's
Zelda
also
like
two Master
there's
Swords.
two at the same
It's like,
time. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's
yeah.
a whole other.
I'll tell you what,
subject.
Then if they sealed Ganon underneath the castle, how is there Ganon?
Let me say this to you. That
Okay.
Nintendo doesn't want it to be that complicated. They're not thinking that hard.
No,
they don't
yeah.
want you to
It's-
think that
it's-
hard.
Zelda is a myth. It's a legend,
to-
literally.
To answer your Ganon thing, though, best guessed explanation is that the events in the past, before Zelda turns into a dragon, like the confrontation with Ganondorf, with the Rauru gives his life to seal Ganondorf away. That happens. Ganondorf is now sealed in his like thing that ends up under Hyrule Castle in
Yeah.
the future. Then Zelda, turns into a dragon, goes off or whatever. While Ganondorf is under there, when the Sheikah start the calamity that happened in Breath of the Wild 100 years before,
Yeah.
the Sheikah, the divine beast, they disturbed underground. It's very likely they disturbed the resting site of Ganondorf, allowing some of his
So like
energy
an avatar.
So like his malice spewed out, and thus, yeah.
Okay.
That the Calamity Ganon was able to start, yeah. And over time, probably the seal weakened. So it's like that's how Calamity Ganon was like becoming a presence in the world, is because like
Yeah.
the seal was weakening over time.
Okay.
And so, but that's never explicitly stated in Tears of the Kingdom, and that's one of the many criticisms with continuity they have.
Yes.
So I thought you were going to ask something different, but that's a very good question because this is within the lore and rules of these two games alone.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, even like when they go down and they see Ganon under the castle, they're like, "Who's that?"
Yeah, they don't know.
It's Ganon, obviously. It looks like Ganon.
They don't know what Ganon looks
so
like.
that's
They
the
have no
thing.
idea.
And-
But didn't he get?
In
They've
Breath of the
only
Wild,
seen
they don't see a
Calamity
humanoid
Ganon. They don't know what he looks like
They
as
don't
a
know
human.
a human version of him. So
What did he look like when you fought him in Breath of
He
the
was
Wild?
like
I
a
don't even
puppet.
remember.
Yeah,
So
he was like
that
a robot
real,
with
like, he
Sheikah
looked
stuff.
like those blight things
Yeah.
again, and then he looked like the giant like boar.
Yeah.
So it looked like an animal.
I completely forgot that. Thank
so
you.
he's not. Yeah, you don't see
So
that.
yeah, they didn't know what
but
Ganon
you're
looked like.
kind of right
Okay.
about when Zelda goes into the past. Why is she not be more like
yeah.
pointing out like, oh, we also had Calamity Ganon. Like, anyway, yeah.
God, that name sounds
So
familiar.
to Raru and Sonia. So I liked the character interactions between Raru and Link and
What
Zelda.
the fuck is Raru? I don't understand what he
The
is.
Zonai.
He's like a weird dog thing.
He's a dog
goat,
man,
like a goat
yeah.
dragon.
a goat dragon
Goat
man.
dragon.
Goat
thing.
dragon. Wait,
Like-
dragon?
They're like goat dragons,
Okay.
Whatever.
sort of.
Let's not get hung up
We
on
don't
it.
know.
But yeah, I don't know what the fuck
So
he
I
is.
kind of like those character interactions. I liked Sonia's or Raru's sister too.
Yeah, who was the other sage?
Yeah, who was interacting
yeah.
with you a lot because you got more of that storyline. So they did a little bit better with those depictions, but again. They had such short screen time that I felt they were very underdeveloped. And worse were the other four sages. The other four sages who like are just in the Vine Beast mask, and like we get like very little about them.
They show the same cutscene after you beat every boss.
And it's like this is compared to what we got with the champions in Breath of the Wild. I actually think that was a step back in terms of that.
That's
Though we did get to see the new
We get
champions
more
come back,
focus on them.
and that
yeah.
was good.
That was good. Yeah.
That was good. But Raru was, quaint, nice, but I honestly, it suffers the same things that Ganondorf suffered.
I think the story also suffers a little bit from you being able to watch it out of order. Like, I saw the sister die before I even knew who she was, and I was like, why do I care? And then later, I saw her do other stuff, and I was like, oh, I guess she's important, but I didn't know who she was.
Yeah, to me, like a lot of this game was, they still have not found out a way to really deliver a story in their world design, how they want you to explore as a player, but tell a narrative that is compelling at the same time.
Yeah.
So I get that, and I agree. And like they've had a second game to try and tackle that. I do think they did a better.
It's
Oh,
better.
yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah.
better.
Because
Way
even
better.
though there's using the same trick of it's like a story that's happening in the past, it felt like there was. I know I said like Ganondorf didn't have like the tension and stakes like for character development, but it felt like those scenes were informing the present at least and filling in a mystery that helped me process what was going on in Link's adventure, what Zelda was doing.
For sure.
Where in Breath of the Wild, it's like. This is just a mystery, but has like really no impact on what I'm doing right now. It's just like what happened 100 years ago. It's
Yeah.
like like Calamity Ganon happened. We like already get this. Link got hurt, and like it's cool. But like, what was Zelda doing in the past? Like she became a dragon. The Master Sword. We're gonna go get like it had immediate impacts, which was nice. I wish they would go further. And man, like I feel like I wish they could just figure out how to do more because can they just go study like Red Dead Redemption? Giant open world game. They do a more involved story in that game. Like I obviously haven't played
Does
it feel more linear in some way, even though it's an open world?
I mean,
kind of
yeah.
stuff?
Enormously.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's
so-
like mission, like you go here, you talk to Betsy over here, kind of thing. Like,
But it's also
throughout
like
the story.
there's a million like side quests you don't have to do.
Yeah.
And then you could play Red Dead Redemption for 300 hours and never touch the story.
So this is what
Yeah.
this is what I would like. I guess this is all I'm asking for is like, can you do what you're doing in Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, but have a stronger main story quest line?
Yes.
Where
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think
if you follow it, it's very in depth. It's very.
I
more
think some of that
rewarding.
might have to be Damiani and them having an order for you to go into the temples.
So, well, maybe not even the temples. I'm thinking like for the tiers, because that's where I think the bulk of the emotional heart of the story is. Like instead of the tier being relevant to like the image of the Nazca Lions or whatever, it should. Whatever tier you get first, that's number one, and then it just goes in order.
I would have
I
liked
think
that.
that's a good idea.
Because
Yeah.
then you experience the story in order
A linear
instead
fashion, yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of getting like random pieces where you're
Right.
like, oh, well, I know what's happening.
Right, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and they kind of did that in that you couldn't get the like final
The final
tier
one,
unless
right.
Yeah.
Until you got everything else, but
I agree.
just wish they did more of that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm
Because
on
that
that boat
still
too.
allows you to do. You don't have to do any of the tiers to beat Ganon. So
Yeah.
you could even that still isn't directing you in the same way that a Red Dead Redemption or so, does.
Yeah. I don't know how they're going to go about doing it. I hope they try to lean into that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny because I thought the tiers were actually going to be like where the dungeon rewards. Like I thought because there were like what 6, 7.
Well, yes, I did
So I was
too.
like, oh, Zelda games usually have like there's 7 is a very important number in the Zelda series. I'm like, oh, we're probably gonna get like 7 dungeons, cool, and like we get tiers. But like very early on,
And
I
they
was
just
like,
did the photo thing
and
again.
then I was like, at the end, I was like, oh, it's not gonna be this.
Yeah,
so
it's
I was
not.
like, here we go again.
And I thought Link was going to be the 7th sage.
yeah, I don't think he's
somehow.
ever historically the sage
Yeah.
ever. But
No.
I mean, I could see that though.
He's
But
usually
then it was
like
just like, oh no, you
He's
just
usually
have
just
help.
like
he's got like a
guy.
label usually,
Yeah.
like the hero of time, hero of winds, like
Right,
hero whatever.
okay.
in
Hero
this
of the
game.
Wild, no.
And like the older games have their own explanation that like whenever a calamity or cataclysm like is about to unfold, that a hero will always arise to combat that evil.
Yeah.
Like because of the Triforce's existence, there will always be 3 people very important to the disturbance of like Triforce. But like
Right,
this game
right.
does like both these games, we haven't even heard the word Triforce uttered yet. We
Nope.
did see a visual of it in Breath of the Wild, but like they're not even leaning into that yet. Like
Yeah.
when we have sages, this is like we still don't have like a good origin point. Like even the Zonai, like their explanation, like we don't really have anything that. But yeah, it's obviously there's more that they can tell. They can do. I think they can do a better job storytelling, and I still think there's a lot to mine from the mythos. I think they're still. It's very smart that they're not trying to connect to any of the older games. Like it's just Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. Everything else is in isolation.
Yeah,
and I
this
think
is its own myth.
yes, and I like that. And I think they have a lot more they can like to still explore with that mythology. I was worried they might go too much into this one, and they really didn't. So they have a lot, like, because again, we haven't like the creation of Hyrule, if they even want to touch that, the Triforce. We haven't even talked about really the Sacred Realm, if that even exists in this. Obviously, they can just go in a completely different direction. But back to your point, the original question, yeah, I would like a stronger main story. That I really would not like to have like the memories come back again. I think that trick it was improved, but I would not like to see it a third time.
Super Afro Boy wrote in, do you think the next Zelda will follow the Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom formula or shake things up? I'm personally hoping it's a shake up now. I hope it's something completely different.
You don't think it'll be a trilogy?
It could easily be a trilogy, and I could absolutely see it. But I personally want something different now.
Yeah, I know. It was either Eiji Aonuma or Fujibayashi said that Tears of the Kingdom specifically. They said before for Breath of the Wild that it was going to be open air was going to be like the future of Zelda, and then they came out and said that the construction and fusion system is going to be a staple going. Like that's
Oh,
like,
I didn't know
it's
that.
like a big blueprint for them going forward.
I didn't know that.
Speaking of that, I thought it was to talk about the very, very end of the game. I really did not like that you lose your arm at the end of the game. I thought that was really cowardly of Nintendo. I thought, because in the beginning of the game, Raru's like, sorry, we couldn't save your arm. And then at the end, it's just like, well, your arm's back. Why?
Magic.
But that's dumb.
I know.
Like he should have kept the arm, and then especially if building and stuff is going to continue to be important, let me keep the arm.
They'll introduce some new mechanic for the next one.
Link has
Right,
to
I
lose his arm
know,
again.
but like it's his other arm.
Yeah.
But I just like that's so. Like, what a brave move that would be to be like, Link is permanently changed. If you see Link in the future and he has this arm, you know this is in the future of Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with them having a prosthetic arm. I think they want to get away from like the different type of arm for Link now, though.
Yeah.
They did it. They like to move on, I feel like, a lot of times with stuff like that. Because they always want to have freedom to do stuff. They don't want to be like,
But
they don't want to have to consider the arm.
The stakes are gone.
So that's
You know?
I think that's
You
a
know what I
danger
mean?
when they tie it so intrinsically to like the narrative that
Yeah.
it feels weird when you don't get that payoff. Whereas in the previous game they used the Sheikah slate, which is like not very dramatic. It's just like a
Yeah,
pad
it's
you
an
use,
iPad, yeah.
and it connects to like the towers, the drops, and it's like
Yeah.
here's more downloading more information, and then Pura can enhance it, and they got completely rid of that, and it's like. Oh, now let's go to the arm, and the arm controls all your powers now.
Yeah.
So it's going to go to something else, and I think that's why. But yeah, it would have been nice even if they like introduced like any kind of explanation other than it just happens. It's like
Right.
we're always like, oh, because you did this, you showed something, and like we were able to do this, or it's a blessing of the dragon or something, or
Yeah, it's just like waved away, like, oh, it's back. Don't ask any questions.
Just
Because then
something,
when you go back into the world to to finish side quests or do whatever you want to do, like, I was like, oh, so do I have to finish the game again? Like, I don't want to do that. Yeah.
Since we're talking about story, let's talk about some of the continuity, I guess,
Oh,
of the world.
sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
because you said the blueprint.
Yeah.
The question.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, this to finish that. They said like it sounds like building and like maybe fusion is probably here to stay.
Well, I guess, Damiani, I'm not necessarily like talking about the blueprint of the series. I'm talking about like a new Hyrule and a new Link, a new Zelda, a new like a new villain, something. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think they cannot. If they come back to the same Hyrule again,
I don't think you can come back to
I think I'm gonna. I don't know what they could like. Obviously, it's Nintendo. They could wow us with something, but some part of me is gonna be disappointed.
Yeah.
If they go back to no matter what innovation they try and throw at it, and whatever that entails. Whether it's, you need to do a time skip, you just want to make a new game that has no connections. Like actually, we're making another Zelda, same kind of like mechanically same, but story-wise has no connection. We'd like to do this going forward where like maybe a game or two will be its own thing, but then we move on. Whatever it is, just move on from this Hyrule.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
Yep.
Like
I'm with
I
you.
hope it's a new Link and stuff too. Like if it's the same Link and Zelda, like whatever, it's fine, I guess. But I don't want the same area. I don't want to be in the same Hyrule anymore. Let's go somewhere else.
I think
Let's get in maybe a new villain. Let's see what else.
Yes.
Ganondorf just showed up.
I mean, it's like it has. Like they try and bring Ganondorf back. They're following the same pitfall they did with the older games, where it just got ridiculous. That like they had to keep inventing storylines all the way to like creating Demise to be like the spirit of Demise endures, and you got to reinvent it as Ganondorf. That's why he keeps coming back. Blah, blah, blah.
And
We don't need that.
It's
nonsense.
like I get Ganondorf's the big bad of this universe. He is the most important villain, and he always will be. But especially if you do a sequel to this game, another one, you got to do someone new.
So real quick, just send them off to like another land with
Yeah,
like
that's what I'm saying,
a new threat. Yeah, like you're saying. And again,
Send Link off.
like Link and Zelda can
Link and
travel
Zelda
together
or
to like
whoever,
another like kingdom or
Sounds
something,
sick.
and it's like
Yeah.
there's more of the world. And two, if they do bring in the Triforce is what usually makes something all powerful when they get a hold of a piece of it. Maybe a new villain is the one who discovers it, and they're the ones who get a piece of it or discover the Sacred Realm. And like it's sort of riffing on the older games, but it's someone new, different motivations, different story, and a different location. Like it's kind of fusing some familiar, but with new things as well. I'd like to see more of that for sure.
Like even if it's like Vadi or something, Vadi again, or something like that. Someone who's been gone for a very long time and only wasn't like the side games, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, I also think it's pretty ripe for them to maybe craft a brand new type of villain.
I think so,
they have
too.
had a handful that they've tried over the years, and some maybe stood out a little bit more than others. But I think they're up to the task. Like we don't, I get it. Mario always has a Bowser, but there have been other villains in Mario games that have kind of like stood out and been like well received by fans.
Ganon's son. Ganon
Banon.
Jr.
Ganon Jr.
Ganon Jr.
Yeah.
It'd have to be
Yogurt.
100 years in
There
the
you go.
future
Yep.
or something for that to happen, I guess.
Oh, yeah. But wait, Ganon could get married and have a child with a non.
But it'd be,
I have no idea how this works.
theoretically,
yeah,
it'd be a female still.
I'm not sure of the technical
Even if it's
reasons.
only half Gerudo?
Yeah, because that's what happens a lot of times, like in Terrytown.
Yeah.
Bolson,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
his wife, they have a daughter.
Their daughter,
But
yeah.
is that because his
just
wife is a Gerudo? Like,
yes, it's if you're with a Gerudo no matter what, I believe. That's the whole...
wow, okay.
That's why there's no other, like, Gerudo offspring anywhere that are males, ever.
Yeah.
It's just essentially Ganondorf, usually.
So maybe like it could be the great.
Sure.
Because
100
Ganon
years.
is from the past, we know this.
Yeah,
so
I
it could
mean,
be a relative
and he's
of Ganon.
not bound to age, it seems
That's
like. There's
all-
always
yeah,
something.
right,
So they could easily just make some shit up. It doesn't
Right,
matter.
right.
Let's talk about the continuity of this game compared to Breath of the Wild. Some of it's good, but some of it's not good. Some of it, like some characters recognize you, know you as they should, but some of them don't know you when they should know you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hetsu immediately annoyed me. It's like, Bitch, I collected so many Korok seeds for you. You don't know who I am? I look exactly the same. Also, getting the same armor sets that I originally got, I'm like, why am I doing this again? Why doesn't Link have a lot of these old things? Like, if you want to like get brand new armor sets that function similar, sure. But they are exactly the same.
Wait, are they?
Yes.
All of them are the same?
Not every armor set in the game, but like the fire suit is the same. Like for the Goron Village, the Rito one's exactly the same.
It's like
the Zora one's exactly the same. The Garuda one's exactly the same.
Yeah,
they have
those
the exact
I
same ones, and like you have to buy them and stuff.
Yeah, it was like gliding was new, like the miner suit, like the one that helps.
Yeah,
you
there's new stuff,
gloom.
definitely.
Yeah.
But these suits, like especially when I wish there was like it was better about like, hey, you played Breath of the Wild, you have progress here. They give you your horse back, which is cool. I wish they were more considerate about your other stuff though too.
You're so right.
Maybe just some gear.
Sick that they remember my horses and stuff.
That's awesome. I love that.
And my names. I was like, oh, that's cool.
But even like the carpenter guy at Lunaru Village or whatever, like he didn't really recognize Link at all. I'm like,
yeah, and well,
you built my house.
If it was everyone was like, "Who are you?" Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Wait, that would be cool. If because Zelda's in the past, now Zelda never existed, so people are like, "Who are you, Link?"
It's just too crazy.
It's
too crazy.
Wait.
The timeline's too crazy already.
Yeah, it was if everyone forgot or if everyone remembered, fine.
Yeah.
But some people being like, oh, who are you? You like stranger, and then some people being like, oh, hey, Link, what's up? Like, can you get me an egg or whatever? Yeah.
But I will say it was nice getting some more from characters, especially the champions, Damiani, like Sidon and all that stuff. Just getting more from these characters, more from Pura. It was very nice that they fleshed out a lot of those characters. Tulin and stuff like that. I loved that stuff.
Yeah, it was nice that they did that with some of the main characters, and it had good payoffs. I think like they just needed a little bit more, like for the world building. I think they just needed to give a little bit more to help like bridge the two games.
Dude, I'm confused how much time has passed. Because Link and Zelda look exactly the same, but
different haircuts.
Bolson or whatever, he has like a daughter now. It's like 5 years old and some shit. I'm like, what the?
Yeah, I guess for some people like that would like that could be bothersome. For me, like
exactly.
Didn't really strike me.
Damiani, I think we're so used to not expecting a lot of things from Zelda like that, where I'm just like, oh yeah, it's Zelda, whatever.
It's like, yeah. I just like needed something like to explain like where'd all the Sheikah stuff go?
Where'd all the Sheikah stuff? Where'd the Divine Beasts go? Like I couldn't find anything. Maybe someone found something, but I didn't find anything.
And it like took until you beat the game when it finally gives you the full profile for Ganondorf, where it actually has a line about Calamity Ganon in his description. It's like you literally waited till the end of the game to acknowledge. Like, yeah, the Sheikah tech was a big like. What the WTF? Are you not even going to acknowledge this? And like, but all I needed was like maybe one sentence from Zelda saying, "Oh, remember what we did with the Sheikah tech? Like we like buried away or something. Just anything stupid."
Or it all, even if she said like, "Oh, it all magically disappeared."
Something. Just
or got sucked into the earth.
Just acknowledging it existed before. I just needed that. That was weirding me out. And then just the fact that the Zelda team just did not want to make very direct connections between Calamity Ganon and Ganondorf. Like they were like avoiding it, like the plague, and even like average people were not drawing the connecting dots. Zelda wasn't bringing it up when she went to the past, and it was just kind of insulting at points to the point of, I get you don't want people to have to have played Breath of the Wild, but this is something you literally could have explained in a quick cutscene, or you're doing all this other. Yeah, go ahead.
Here it is. The game starts with people being like, "Oh, all the metal is rusty." Why not be like all the Sheikah stuff, the towers, all the like the robots or whatever, like got rusty really fast, weirdly, and now it's all
saw
gone.
like more debris of the Sheikah tech, I guess, or even laying around.
You just say like it got rusty and fell down and blew away. Like who cares, you know?
Yeah, they could have just had like.
The explanation was right there, and they didn't use it.
They could have just shown it in the opening cutscene, and then like when the gloom spreads, the gloom just naturally sought out that and dissolved it because it damaged the Master Sword. It clearly is going to destroy like Divine Beast and the Sheikah, the shrine. So just have that. Anything. Your explanation, anything would have been better than that. But the most insulting thing to me was such a lack of acknowledgement between Calamity Ganon and Ganondorf, and nobody really drawing like a conclusion between the two. And Nintendo, like, it was like the character profile for Ganondorf, and the teacher in Hateno literally has one of the lessons is about retelling the Calamity to the children. I'm like,
Right.
thank you that someone remembers this happening, because people are like not even saying Calamity Ganon, like, or Calamity. It's like, wait, what? It's like, are we not gonna like talk about this?
Right.
And,
It's like if no one remembered a nuclear explosion.
it's
that
like
happened
something bad has
4
just
years ago.
happened. Yeah, something bad has happened to Hyrule again for under Hyrule Castle, and it's like no one talks about the Calamity. It's like, or it's like very little is talked about, and it felt weird and out of place, and it was like a weird creepiness to the game for me. That like in the back of my mind, I'm like, this is like, is this not in the same timeline as the first game? Like these weird questions started popping up, and it wasn't any of that. And again, like, I think Nintendo and their team just has a little bit more faith and trust in people and consumers. That would not have overwhelmed them.
They're cowards,
and
like I said.
I think people would have drawn a connection even if they hadn't played Breath of the Wild. Like, please, like, just don't. It felt a little bit like being babied, a tiny bit. And I was like, come on.
I feel like I've dunked on this game for a while. So
yeah,
let's bring up
it's all the good
something
stuff,
more
yeah.
positive, definitely.
I love this game, by the way.
Yeah, I absolutely love this game. I loved
Yeah.
my playthrough of this game.
I played almost 200 hours of it, so I adored it.
Matthew Wakel wrote in, "Howdy, allies. How did you feel about the dungeons? While better than the Divine Beasts from Breath of the Wild, I'm still not sure they were exactly what I was looking for. The unique themes and bosses were a step in the right direction, but the overall design still resulted in activating 4 to 5 switches in each dungeon to progress. Considering all the new tools at your disposal, I think the devs did a really great job to keep the dungeons relatively freeform, but where do they go from here in terms of dungeon design in future games?" Thanks, Maddie. Unexpected enemy.
So, okay. Let me say my thing so we can get to like positive stuff after I say my stuff. So we can end on positive stuff.
Yeah, I think
Because I agree.
Unexpected Enemy here had a lot of points that I agree with. I think the dungeons are an improvement over all the Divine
Yes,
Beasts,
I agree
big
with
time.
that.
I hated the
I think the
Divine
bosses are much more creative and interesting
Yes,
this time.
they felt like actual Zelda bosses. So that was probably the best thing they did. In that regard,
and I think theming goes a long way. Once again,
helped a lot. And that music was so much better. Like having multiple tiers of like a theme song as you progress through the temples, and it would change as you accomplish goals. Like that was really good. Like they nailed it out of the park with those.
Yeah.
And I did feel like a lot of the puzzles were pretty like good.
Yeah.
And they felt a little bit more unique. So yes, that was all good, and you had companions. Like one of the things I wanted to see come back, hadn't been in the game since pretty much like the Wind Waker, was having a companion you could go into a dungeon with, and they had unique abilities. In the Wind Waker, you actually control your companion individually, and I got a little bit more.
it sounds
tedious.
cool, but it's cumbersome.
It got a little bit, got a little
More
tedious.
cumbersome than...
Dude, you have to play a song.
You had to play a
each
song,
time.
and then like you had to do a little transition cutscene where you teleported them,
Yeah.
and then you could like move around as them, and then you had to like disengage, and it would screen fade to black, go back to Link, and it wasn't
That
the
sounds
best.
annoying.
It
This
wasn't
is
the
more-
best
yeah, I
executed.
prefer
So
this more.
other than like having to chase down your companions when
Yeah,
you
and
needed
having
them
them
at
block
times,
the screen when
but
you're trying to do stuff.
in general, they smoothed that out, and I was appreciative of them re-exploring that concept. I'm at the point now after seeing this a second attempt at this. I don't know where they can go from here in this type of dungeon design that will satisfy me.
I think the problem is, Damiani, a lot is that you have too much freedom about what you can do, and they don't know how to. It feels like they don't want to make a dungeon where you go through almost linear, about this room, then this room, then this room. They're so about right now of like, here's the dungeon, you go whatever way you want, you solve it however way you want, which is cool, but I think a lot of interesting design will get lost in the way of them specifically crafting a way for you to get through it.
I think they did for two specific reasons. Most of these dungeons are very open in design.
Yes.
Like you're free to go tackling these 4 or 5
That's what I'm
objectives
saying,
in any order you want. So if you get frustrated on a certain type of puzzle, you can just move on to the next one. And maybe by doing one, it jogs your memory, which absolutely was the case with me. It's like, oh, okay, now I know what I needed over here.
Yeah.
So in that regard, from a design standpoint, like they did a very good job with that. I do think, though, a little bit is lost in terms of like the feeling I felt in terms of satisfaction, the level of depth of the intricate, how puzzles affect multiple rooms, and like having to do this path to unlock a path this way. Felt a little bit more rewarding than just this, because I got the sense of feeling of satisfaction solving these types of puzzles in the shrines themselves.
Yeah.
It's like they already have these.
I think the shrines do it much better.
You're not giving me anything different than what I'm really getting in the shrines in terms of puzzle design, and that's what main Zelda dungeons always did. And the other part of it is, yes, they're a little bit more forced that you have to go and do this. You cannot progress unless you have done this, and I think they're a little bit scared of that. The other part of it is like, it was always tied to like a unique item. And I think they need to either figure out a way to like either lock an item to a dungeon. Like they're worried about balancing your toolkit outside of the dungeon. If there were unique items found in dungeons, it's like, well, do we have to hold like Ascend and like Ultra Hand until you get in a dungeon instead of giving it to you right after you complete the tutorial area? Or do we give you brand new ones? And it's like, how will that, now we have to balance it on like more than 4 abilities. Now we have to balance like, what, 8 to like 9 abilities?
Well,
this is going to get insane at some point for them. And I think it's a challenge they haven't fully...
I think if you don't need to put an item back in a dungeon to solve it kind of thing. I think they just need to figure out a structure of going through the dungeon where it's not 5 spots on every dungeon. Like, they need to get away from that, doing that gimmick for every dungeon kind of thing.
Well, it was very much that, like, instead of the puzzle of the dungeons being solving puzzles, it was like, how do I get to that dot in order to do a really obvious puzzle? Yeah.
The dungeons just don't feel like as big of events anymore as they used to.
Yeah.
When I used to go into a dungeon, it felt like a really big deal, and they would take me way longer than these. These are pretty damn quick, honestly.
Yeah.
Some of them were really quick. Also, the nature of some of them, the ability to just like, because the game allows you to climb walls, you have so many tools to like traverse. I will say, what otherwise would have been like my favorite dungeon, hands down, the Fire Temple, was absolutely ruined because I could just climb up and ascend to so many places. I didn't ride the minecart. I think I rode the minecart once, and I was like, I don't need to.
I rode that minecart all over that.
I literally
I did as intended, minecarts.
But like, that's the thing. I want to be forced to like do that. Like, you laid out these cool tracks and stuff. Let me go through this process of doing it. Instead, like, I'm using the tools you provided. I don't think, and I'm just climbing up walls.
You're just like skipping it.
Now I'm in this room, like, but I'm playing the way the game you've been teaching me to play it for like 30 hours now. What's wrong with this?
So when you give players that much freedom and tools, especially in a dungeon, it's like they're going to bypass a lot of the design.
I think this is the problem, and like that's why I ultimately would like them to go back to
Damiani, I'd be personally okay if they restricted some of your stuff in dungeons. If there were like something is in there, like causing it so you can't use it.
Well, it could be that your companion has a power because they're in the flesh in the dungeons with you, and then their ghost or whatever follows you for the rest of the game. Yeah. So it could be a power that they have personally that they don't give you after you finish the dungeon.
Yeah, I mean, they could just you could just go into a dungeon and they could be like, "Yo, there's some evil Ganon fog in here," and it like, disables all your stuff.
I mean, you already have the shrines that strip you of some of your weapons and stuff. It's like,
right. So why wouldn't the dungeons?
The shrines are better than dungeons, and it bums me out. That they are better, much better, and more creative. I felt like.
I will say though, I do want dungeons with like items back in them though.
Sure,
like
I would not be upset.
I would really like to see that again. But I will take a start of them like making them more like handcrafted and putting restrictions or making you have to solve certain things in order to progress. And I think they can go even a little bit further on the theming. Like, it was a nice change, but there's definitely stronger. Almost every Zelda dungeon outside of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom is stronger than any of these dungeons we've seen, or divine beasts we've seen.
Yeah. Because they nail it in so many other ways. Like, some of like the shrine puzzles are so sick. Like, just doing those, I'm like, God, this is so rad. I wish I had to do this in the dungeon, or something like that.
Yeah.
How many shrines did you do?
I did like 98, I think.
Okay.
I think I'm at 104 or something. I'm still trying to finish all of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I finally not before I beat the game, but currently I'm like at 100 something.
So do you know what you get for getting all the shrines?
Yes, I do know.
You know?
I do not know.
I do know.
Can we tell you?
Yeah, you just tell me.
So you get like a Link Zonai skin.
Oh.
And I'm wondering what the like lore implications of that are, or is it just
wrong
like
game.
Whatever?
Asking the wrong thing and
it's a
again.
bonus, The thing, the most recent thing I discovered, which I was like got excited for I'm curious to see Huber's reaction if he ever finds it. Was building your own house. I finally found that. So overwhelming. No. It's not what I want.
I love the house building.
It's you literally can like buy different components of a house. Like you can buy a kitchen, you can buy a bedroom, you can buy like a garden, and then you gotta like use Ultra
assign
Hand.
them to slots.
I almost wish it had a better interface. Like I don't like that interface for it. It feels way too like it's too much for me. And I tried it once, did it, bought more pieces, saw them all laying out. I just said, and now I'm never coming back to this. I'm sorry.
Wait, why did that bug you? 'Cause when you build so much in the game. What put you off about that?
I wanted to like have like tell the dude like build me this and just like Tom Nook style, just add it on, add another floor. Like you do it for me. I don't want to have to choose where it goes. Or if I did, give me like a menu where it's like I like easily slide it in 2D or something. Like it was like
The Sims.
having to go into the gameplay to do it. I was like, no, this is not good.
I like that, Damiani, because the whole game is you doing stuff like that. The whole game's about you building stuff freely, not sitting in a menu doing it. I get like. For your house, I get that.
I wanted,
but
to me, I felt like it was supposed to be a reward, and it was like, now it's a chore. And
it was
I'm like,
a sick reward.
I was like, I liked Breath of the Wild's version better. I'm like, I like this paying.
Dude,
and
you gotta
getting
mess with it again. You
I was
gotta
like,
mess with it again.
Give me my room. It's all
Bro, you
pre-built.
get like a fucking nice garden and stuff, and it's so pleasant.
I didn't do any house building stuff in Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh. Well, in Breath of the Wild 1, you just...
that.
Oh, you missed all of it? Did you miss Terrytown?
Yes.
Then? Oh,
I missed
shit.
the entirety of Terrytown.
Wow.
Dang, yeah.
When people were talking about Terrytown, like, after the game, months after the game came out, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
Completely missed it. I got there this time.
Yeah.
But, not in Breath of the Wild.
What did you think about the fusing, one, the weapons for your gear, stuff like that, and two, the actual fusing of stuff in the world like Zonai tech.
And what was the stupidest thing that you fused? What was the stupidest weapon you made?
I think I just made some really janky ass vehicles. I know that. Like one of the quests where you have to escort the music people. You have to push them like across the water, dude. That was a disaster. I did it, but it was rough.
Yep.
I definitely tossed those musicians a few times. And then I started over. I took, after you do the Terrytown quest where you like escort the daughter to and then there's the like cutouts of Bolson.
Oh yeah.
I fused a sword with a Bolson cutout.
That's awesome.
All right.
It was like a pretty good weapon.
Yeah, I think I tried fusing a bunch of crazy stuff to the Master Sword.
Yeah,
because it was like, it just looks so stupid with the Master Sword, half the stuff. Like, 90% of the stuff looks stupid when you fuse it together.
It's so good.
They were also like, I mean, some of the coolest stuff was always stuff dropped by like enemies, because it gave me an idea. Like, oh, I can attach this to this and it does this. This is like really cool. So I appreciate that they had enemies that were already using fused weapons to give
and they would drop
kind of a bit
fused
of a
weapons that you
guidance.
could pick up.
So I happy that they did something like this. I'm sure a lot of more creative people really enjoyed being able to. This is the weapon fusion and the shield fusion and the attaching items like the bow and arrows. Like I'm happy for people who really enjoyed that. After experiencing now in a game, I would like to go back to just having pre-made weapons and stuff. I just want like cool, unique looking stuff. Give me electrical swords. Give me fire swords. Give me back bombs.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
But you could just make those.
I just want to have them. I don't want to have to like deal with the and the other part. I think part of this speaks to the dated UI. I did not think I think they didn't improve the UI at all from the first game, and I really wish they would have spent more time refining the UI, because that might have contributed to my feelings about this, possibly.
Yeah, there was some shittiness with the arrow fusing. I thought was really smooth, but fusing to your shield and fusing to your sword like was impossible in the middle of a fight. Like you having to drop something while Lionel is like running full speed at you. Yeah.
I'm kind of like torn on it. I think it was cool this time around, but I'm like, I don't necessarily want it to be exactly the same if it comes back again. I don't want it to work exactly the same. I don't want to necessarily have to put like monster parts on a weapon again. Like, it's cool. I like the arrow thing a lot. I think that was really sick.
Yeah.
But you just do it a lot, like a lot. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I think if you're, I know they were the fusing was supposed to kind of make people less annoyed about the weapons breaking.
Yeah.
But I feel like
I think it might have made things even worse for a lot of people.
I was gonna say
it solved
they
that.
break. Yeah, I don't think it solved that. Because I wanted my weapons to last longer,
Yes.
even,
Yep.
and I don't mind them breaking.
Sure.
But I would fuse a valuable item to my
Yes.
sword and then lose it
Yeah.
in 5 hits.
I think it was cool with some of the fusing stuff, like putting a rock on a weapon to break a wall. I thought that
Yeah.
was really fun.
That was
I
the
love stuff like that,
liked.
like a fire. You put fire on something to
Yes.
light something on
Right.
fire. I
Put
think
a
that's all
ruby
really
on the
cool.
end, and you have like
Yeah.
I like stuff like that where it was like for tackling puzzles or tackling objectives like that. But for like basic combat, I wasn't really feeling as like generally. Whatever was just like around me, I felt like it was just fusing shit to fuse shit to like just increase the damage it did. Like
That's
in
usually
my
what
head-
it was,
In my
yeah.
head, it's like this is gonna add more damage. Just fuse it and like make the thing stronger and like
That's
cool.
mostly what it
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
And it didn't. Yeah, as it said, it didn't really alleviate any of the durability. I didn't really have a problem with durability in the first game, honestly.
No,
Breath of the Wild.
I didn't either. I know a lot of
it
people do,
didn't-
but it doesn't bother
yeah,
me.
it didn't bug me. And this time I was with you. I was like, oh, I crafted something cool. It's going to break now. It's like,
Yeah.
crap. I was like, all right, well, cool. Now I'm stuck with like this crap. But as I progressed, it was less of an issue. So I felt like, man, I really hate that I didn't maybe use fucking Korok seeds to expand my like slots. Like
That takes so long.
I hate that. Please don't ever bring that back again. Please, just
coming back.
Just give me just give me pouches or something like
coming back.
collectible pouches and like as a reward and in chest and hidden chest and stuff that just automatically do it.
Or at least let me do it all at once and not have to talk to Hestu 50,000 times. in order to-
I like the dance he does. Like it was
Once.
fun, but like
I like it once.
That's like second or third time, like skip,
Mashing, yeah,
skip.
Logan Tossi wrote in, do you think it might be hard to go back to Breath of the Wild after playing Tears of the Kingdom? I feel like Tears of the Kingdom basically did everything better, and it would almost feel like I'm missing out on a bunch of stuff if I went back to the world of Breath of the Wild. The Ultra Hand, Rewind, and Ascend powers are just so integral to exploration now, and I would feel so limited having just the Magnesis bombs and freeze powers again. Then there's the story and dungeon improvements, as well as the added geography to traverse. I don't really have this problem with the other Zelda games since they're all so different from each other, but in my eyes, Tears of the Kingdom is Breath of the Wild, but even better, and it almost feels redundant to play Breath of the Wild again. What are you guys' thoughts? Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
I think Tears of the Kingdom is just an improved version mostly on Breath of the Wild to me.
I haven't tried to go back and play Breath of the Wild, so I'm not sure how how it would be. I mean, granted, it doesn't have a depth, doesn't have a sky.
Yeah.
It has less to explore on the surface.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't have all those cool caves and wells and stuff that you can like go through. So, when I was playing Breath of the Wild, I thought the tools were pretty good. I liked having infinite bombs, essentially.
Yeah.
The freezing blocks seemed like the most of the powers I had. Seems like the one I could probably go and wouldn't be missed. But yeah, Magnesis not being able to work on everything would probably be annoying when I couldn't pick up this. I want to move this rock. And it's like now I can't do that. I'm like, I'm sure that is like a huge downgrade, but. Yeah, I do. I mean, I guess I agree with what you're saying in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like Ultra Hand to me is so fucking fun.
Yeah.
Just grabbing stuff and just building some random ass shit and building a random like jank airplane and like barely surviving getting somewhere. I think it's so fun. And Breath of the Wild I respect, especially at the time, it's just because it was a new Hyrule and we hadn't seen anything like that. But now we're back to the same Hyrule just with some changes, and it's like Tears of the Kingdom just feels like it just added so much more to Breath of the Wild. It's going to be hard for me. Like, the story is not there for Breath of the Wild for me to be like, I want to experience that story again.
Oh,
the
yeah,
Divine Beasts
no.
aren't as good as the temples where I'm like, I want to experience the Divine Beasts again.
Yeah.
If anything, it would just be like, I just kind of want to do the shrines with the old tools I had before. But, like, even now,
The shrines are
tools I have
so-
now I think are so much more interesting.
Yeah.
Like, Ascend is so damn sick.
Yeah.
I'm shocked every time
Yeah.
that works that my game's not blowing up or something.
You can tell when it's going through a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
though, when
of
it takes
course,
a while.
yeah.
Yeah. I guess some of the stuff in Breath of the Wild is kind of like now like novelty or basic in Tears of the Kingdom. Like crafting was so super important to survival in Breath of the Wild when the temperature changes. Like that was such a big deal. Whereas in this game, it's like never felt like any remotely a bit like a threat.
Wait, really? Those
'cause I was
numbers
so-
just
'cause-
tore my ass.
Oh, because I was so used to it. I was like, I know what I need to do. Like,
Oh, yeah, okay.
like go craft this or find shade and heat. And it was like, you just were used to it this time around, so it wasn't as intimidating of a factor for someone like me, where they threw in like new stuff to consider. So I guess going back to Breath of the Wild, it's like, yeah, a lot of that challenge was in that figuring out how to survive traversal and how to traverse stuff. And did you have the climbing gear? Did you have the right outfit to cool you or heat you up? And then like, do you have the right items? And now it's like they're still part of the system, but there's so many more components to that have added in.
Way more freedom now.
I think, I think Breath of the Wild would feel a little bit too basic now.
Yeah. Instead of making like a dune buggy, just gotta ride my
like,
broke ass horse.
I had so much fun creating like stuff. Like the Ultra Hand creation stuff was great.
Yeah.
They just need to maybe like clean up the UI a little bit, and definitely next time around, absolutely make the auto build thing something you have to get earlier on, so that like you could streamline that process even further.
I didn't get the auto build until after.
Oh, I didn't get it until super late.
Yeah.
Damn, I got that so early. I feel bad.
I didn't even know how to go get it. Yeah.
I went to
was
the
so
depths.
scared. Well, I was so scared
I was
of
in
the depths.
immediately. They're like, "Yo, go down this hole." It's like, "Fuck yeah, let's go!" Just jump down that shit.
Yeah.
I did that like one necessary quest in the depths, and then I was way too scared to ever go back down there.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have. That's something if they're looking to strive to improve. There's the room to improve, but yeah, just creating like stuff that could like fly, like just using the stuff to cheese in the shrines in Breath of the Wild. Like that feeling was accomplished by using Ultra Hand in this game. What can I build to cheese this situation?
Oh, yeah.
What and like, do I think that was the intended solution? Nah, I was proud when I like that. Clearly, is not the intended solution. I'm so proud I figured out this way.
I think that's
There's
that's
no
fun.
such thing as like breaking the game.
Yeah, and I like they kept that spirit alive, and that was a really good way to do it. And yeah, they just kept like whether there's ground-based stuff, flying stuff, trying to figure out how to go to water, just like building a structure or just using stuff to like deal with enemies. It was pretty good to have that system in place. So I really liked that. It ended up being like probably the highlight of the game for me.
I also liked how. Because I feel like in Breath of the Wild, I only ever had like 10 arrows, and I loved having like 150 arrows or whatever, and just
Unloading.
going crazy.
Yeah. Damiani, I'm curious what you think about this. It felt like there's a lot more platforming in this game than past Zelda games, and I personally really liked it. Like I liked climbing up to the water temple or whatever, and the slow-mo moon jump kind of stuff like that. I really had fun with that. I know you thought the wind one up to the wind temple was a little long for you with like the boats jumping off the sails and watching. I thought was really fun.
Yeah. Again, it could just be the time of day. It was like 2 or 3 a.m.
You were grinding hard.
It was after that is the end of a 16-hour like session.
Yeah.
So maybe my mind was like processing things slower, so it felt longer than it really was. But the other 3 lead-ups felt dramatically shorter in my mind than that one did. But otherwise, yeah, like they definitely had a lot of like, that was the part where it also probably was longer because my mind had just not accepted the fact that use ascend. There were a lot of things I was scaling by building devices, and after I got to the top, because I was live streaming, chat would be like, you could have just used ascend. And I was like, gosh,
that was the one I forgot about the most.
Yeah, I was like, I can't remember. But now when I play it, like, oh, absolutely, ascend is essential. I'm like, I don't want to go up there. How can I cheese to get like a little bit of a crevice where it'll flash blue? Yeah, we're going. I don't care. We're going
I
up.
one time sailed over to another island in the sky. You know how they have like the little like pyramids.
Yes.
Sometimes, so I like somehow got onto one of. I somehow was able to stand on one of those.
Yes.
And like ascend through the entire island.
There you go. So, but yeah, sorry. So just like the lead ups to the dungeons. What was the?
I guess that in there, it seemed like there's just more platforming all around.
Oh, sorry, platform. That was the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. It like they.
I did like the lead up to the dungeons more though, like the Zora one where you go like to underground waterworks. I'm like, oh, cool.
That was pretty cool.
And then you go down, and then you have to go up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sick.
It felt like you were like there was a lot more scaling, a lot more jumping off and gliding. Like it felt way more utilized in this one. It felt very essential. And in that regard, yeah, I like that. I liked scaling structures. I liked gliding around. I liked there's a little bit more like precision here needed to like land on something, or can you reach this distance? So just not just platform, but like the traversal in general felt much improved and like had higher stakes at times. and also just felt like you were better equipped for it because you had like the ultra hand things you could build. It's like, I'm gonna launch myself off like this with will this even work? So it's like I need to go over here. There's no way my stamina wheel is gonna let me glide over there, and I don't know how to launch this yet. Maybe I don't have a rocket, but yeah, they have like those things that were like just shooting you off into the sky, on the turnstile or the turntable platforms that you get to keep turning. And it's like, well, let me put the like gliding thing on there and then launch it, and then like I got the balancing act you got to do. So like there was it was the physics and it was really cool.
Yeah. JG wrote in, "Hey allies, I just beat Tears of the Kingdom, and I must say, despite the final boss being very good, I like Breath of the Wild better. The exploration in Breath of the Wild is way more slow-paced and meaningful in my opinion. In Tears of the Kingdom, I find myself constantly flying over huge parts of the map, while in Breath of the Wild, it felt like every piece of the map you explored was earned. The new parts of the map, like the Skylands, were also disappointing. I came across multiple of almost the exact same ones. I wondered how you felt about this compared to Breath of the Wild." I feel like you still had to earn a lot of exploration in this game. It's like you ain't flying for 10 minutes right when you start the game.
Yeah.
You know, you got like one measly battery or something like that. You're walking a lot of areas. I was still walking a ton in this game.
And the caves.
The caves, the caves, like, good luck, you're in the dark. Figure it out. Kind of shit. Fuck you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was something necessary because the surface level Hyrule being very familiar, I didn't feel like I don't need to walk every inch of this again. I already explored this Hyrule. There's new stuff, and like that extra stuff by allowing me to kind of fast travel via gliding more and being able to launch through towers to get further distance. It's like you still need to spot things from the air and like get down to them, and like every cave, like, not a very easy spot from the surface. And then when you go under there, that doesn't really benefit you in those areas. And then you had like the depths, which it's like you can glide, but it's like you don't know this terrain. This is all new to you. So for that part, I think that was the right call to make. Obviously, it was very restrictive in the beginning to the point I was like, man, I wish I had all my Breath of the Wild stuff because I have to get my stamina wheel maxed out again.
Oh my God, I hated that.
Oh, it's like, just give me it back. I'm okay.
When you see all those hearts go away and the whole stuff, I was like, no, I worked so hard.
I do think there were some pretty good points in the sky. Like obviously, like the parts that led up to some of like the wind temple, some of like the lightning cloud area, like they felt more involved.
Yeah, that was cool.
I might have needed a little bit more.
Sure.
I mean, it had like some cool like those diving mini games, like and also the structures that were tied to like the surface and the depths, like the part mazes,
the labyrinths.
Labyrinths. Yeah, that was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Those are crazy.
That shit was sick.
Those are cool. I'm glad they only had as many in there. I think it would have got too repetitive if they had any more. But like for what they were like kind of cool and optional. But I can understand like wanting a little bit more out of the sky. Sure. It was just,
yeah. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
That just reminded me, like, dude, humongous shout out. I love this game. It's just you can jump off a sky island and go all the way down to the depths with no loading.
Yeah.
And when we played Skyward Sword, the load screen every time you jump off to get on your loft wing and like the clouds obstructing all the ground, you have to land in very specific areas. It's like, this is what Skyward Sword needed to be. More like that. I just love that shit. Just being like free with no load was so cool.
And you could see like, even with the kind of fog that was over everything, like you could still see so far.
Yeah. That was technically very impressive. Like I know it has.
Sorry.
I mean, I know it had like some performance issues, but what they're trying to do is insane.
Yeah, I think it's insane.
Absolutely insane.
And it's like a miracle this game works as well as it does.
And the whole thing looks like a Ghibli movie. Like
it looks fantastic.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Did you ever catch a falling star when you were gliding?
Yes,
I caught so many. I caught so
thought
many.
I missed it, and then I opened the inventory. I was like, "Yeah, it's in there." I was like, "All right,
like
cool."
chasing that
because I was so mad. I'm like, "Did I just miss it and it bounced off and I lost it?" I was like, "Oh, come on." But I really like the surface changes too. I love seeing the new locations.
Damiani, this is exactly what I was going to bring up.
Okay, go ahead.
Good job. No.
Oh.
You can just lead right into it. What you loved. I was
Like
gonna
our new hub area
Yeah.
was like really sick to have. And seeing
lookout landing.
how it keeps
Oh, yeah.
evolving.
Mm-hmm.
How like the game is so dynamic with that. Having NPCs that can like routinely be moving at times. Like it's an evolution of like Majora's Mask. Like it was like they had that like clock system, but everyone got upset about everything's on a time limit. It's too restrictive. But now it's like this world feels lived in. Characters traveling. You progress in side quests. They move around. It felt very good. And even like Hot No Village, which I think was maybe like the least change, still like had.
Yeah, but there was a lot still different there in the quest there.
Yeah,
I really
like the
liked.
narratives involved there.
The election.
yeah.
Like
That
the
was
election,
insane.
you had
so fun.
Robbie and
Tampering
Pura's
election.
lab had been overtaken by like Yiga
Yeah.
clan. Like everything was different. Things had changed, and like it was cool to see. Like it feels like this has been lived in for a few years, and
Yeah.
the world has evolved a little bit. And just seeing all of that was really. I enjoyed like Kakariko, just seeing how it became like
Yeah.
a tourist hub, and like everyone is going there now because of like the
ruins
like all
that
the
fell?
ruins that had shown up there, and like all the scholars showing up there, even going like to like the tropicals like Farron
Lunar
Woods with the
ruins.
Zonai ruins.
The pirate.
The pirates.
Yeah, the
thing,
village
too.
being overrun by
Yeah.
like there was.
I wish they had like pirate hats on or something.
the pirate
Yeah, they were
Cove?
just regular ass.
Pirate
Yeah.
Cove. Oh yeah, how
Pirate Cove,
what's that island called? I always forget.
the not Koholint Island.
The one where they take away all your stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just forgot. off the
that's
top
not called Koholint. It's called
No.
something else.
It'll
of my-
come-
Regardless, yeah,
Yeah.
I did like that there was like the pirate stuff in there. That was cool.
Yeah, like just seeing how like Gerudo Town changed, like having
They're under attack. And,
Yeah.
like, by the
Yeah.
Giddos,
Those are
dude.
terrifying.
yeah, go good, dude.
Way
love
better
Giddos.
enemy variety, obviously. So big shout out to that. Love seeing a lot of
Yes.
the classics, like the Cleoc and all
They
that kind
definitely
of stuff.
took the criticism of like enemy
That was a
variety
Zelda
to
1
heart.
build, like
yeah,
Oh.
thing. Yeah.
yeah, Gleok is
Whoa.
from
Zelda
Zelda
1.
And it hasn't been there since.
Oh, it has.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it has,
Not-
but it's just
but
been
it's
a
never
while.
been in 3D before.
Yeah, never.
This was the first
3D.
3D iteration of it.
So it's sick to
yeah.
like see a lot of these
Fighting
guys.
those is really fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
shout
yeah,
out.
those fights were really good against the Gleok. I mean, they brought back Lionels again. They
Yeah.
had
Fuck Lionels.
all the usual suspects were back with their variations, and then like the newcomers as well.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, yeah, like the hands, the gloom hands, as being so terrifying. Like you
So
can't,
scary.
like just like they show up. It's like scurry up a wall.
Yeah,
fast,
just
fast,
get
fast.
high
Just
as
get
fast
high.
as
Just
you
get high.
can.
I can't run away. Just go high. Go high.
Yeah.
Go high. I was like, oh my gosh. And I said we talked about it a little bit easier, but like we didn't really talk. We want to say like the Phantom Ganon encounters.
Yeah.
like how there are multiple of them.
Kakariko
so good.
Force and
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
so sick, dude.
I mean,
Yeah, having to go in the tree or whatever. Oh my god, so
yeah. And yeah, like those bosses were really good. Like obviously they did like the returning, like Hinox was back, like was it the Talus or whatever, the stone dudes were back,
Yeah.
and all that was back. But then like the Depths had its own ones too, like the giant frog thing that sucks you in or whatever.
Frogs?
Yeah.
Frogs, yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of cool bosses. Like I liked the bosses in this one. Like
Oh, the
I
main
really liked
bosses
the
too, yeah.
like the flying like from the Wind Temple. I thought that was really cool. I just liked
with the ice
launching him, yeah, and then
Oh,
like going
gosh,
through
yeah.
him. Like obviously you could shoot, but like
That was
going,
cool.
It was really sick.
I mean, not Armagoma, but I'm forgetting all the names now. But the Fire Temple boss, I really liked that. I was like, as soon as it appears, like, all right, what are you? Like, you look familiar. And then,
It
like,
was cool using the champions for like abilities. I thought it was really cool. I wish it was somewhere easier where you don't have to like run up to them and push A.
that was
Yeah.
awful.
when you have all of them
Yeah.
around you at a point, and
that
it's
was
like,
probably the worst part of the game.
yeah. I wish you could just select ability. Also, the fifth temple or whatever.
Oh.
Dude,
Yeah.
Wait,
It's
what?
like-
you don't even
The
remember
Shadow
because it was in the
Temple,
depths.
In the depths, the Spirit Temple.
Spirit Temple in
whatever
the
they called
depths.
it,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Where you get the robot.
You literally just have to go like
You assemble
escort
the
a
robot.
component.
Oh, I hated that.
That,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
like,
was
that,
not
eh,
a-
it's not very
I
good.
didn't even realize that was a temple.
Well,
It technically
sort
is.
of
Oh,
is
okay.
because I had like 4 objectives.
Right,
and, like,
okay,
building
okay.
the
You might build
robot.
the robot.
It's
I
like,
didn't
Yeah.
mind building the robot.
No, yeah.
But again, I was like, who is this?
yeah.
Like, I barely know who this woman is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Ganondorf, dude. The fight at the end, though.
Oh, yeah,
So,
sick.
Damiani, I really liked going to Hyrule Castle. Then you get there, and you get your ass kicked or whatever, and you gotta like leave. Then you come back later, And the gauntlet to get him was so intense.
Dude, yeah.
I fucked myself over.
Down in the
Yeah, I fucked myself because I didn't think about gloom resistant stuff.
Same.
And I was like, oh shit.
Same.
And then you couldn't get back out, and I was like, oh shit.
Oh, I went in, teleported out.
How did you teleport out?
I just
Like when you
went
get to the
map
boss?
and-
I think you mean you
Teleported
immediately
out.
left, yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't because it was locked. There was a way locked behind me, and I
you just
couldn't
go to the
teleport
map.
out. I couldn't do it.
Oh, so you
you
got
went too
farther
far.
than
You went too-
I was
did.
too
you went too
far.
far.
That's what I'm saying.
So I had the benefit.
I fought him, and I was like, oh
you
shit.
got all the way
Yeah, I was
there.
at him.
Oh.
I had the
I was at
benefit
him.
of
Shit.
chat gave me a don't step any further. It's a point of no return because I knew I wanted to place that the portable teleporter.
Yeah, I didn't get that till after the game.
So
was
I had
over.
that. I got it before this because I knew it was in there. I was like, let me get this because I'm going to set a warp here. And I was like, give me the point of no return warning. I got the warning, dropped it there, and it was
a good
fine.
idea.
But yeah, doing a gauntlet like that, I thought it was prepared, but made two mistakes. It wasn't I had the potions for resistance, but like the crucial mistake I made is all my weapons were fused with like from Phantom Ganon fight. Oh. So they were all gloom weapons and they did shit against the gloom enemies, and I was like, fuck. But then in the fight leading up to Ganon, when you just keep spawning hordes and hordes of enemies during the first phase, they must have thought of this. Nintendo, we know you might have screwed yourself. Here are some extra weapons.
Yeah.
I started, and then like they gave me enough time between them, and I was like, let me drop some cool, strong monster parts and fuse those with those, and
yeah.
like, let's go. I got some like. I appreciated that because I was able to do it on my first. I didn't feel like I screwed myself. I'm gonna have to die. I'm gonna have to come back. Instead, I felt like by the skin of my teeth, I made it to there. Was able to like recover against the enemies, build up a nice arsenal, and then challenge Ganondorf.
So what I did, when I got to the bottom and I realized it was going to be a whole crazy gauntlet, I teleported out, made a bunch of anti-gloom stuff, and then I raced past everything. I skipped every one of those fights.
Yeah.
Nice.
Until you had to fight the
like-
hordes.
Yeah. I think I was just so amped about fighting Ganon. I was like, yeah. And then I just like didn't think about the gloom. But when I got to the point where I couldn't go back, I was like, oh no. Because like the wall behind you crumbles or something like that.
Yeah, okay, now I'm remembering that.
So you can't warp out because the wall's there.
Right, you wouldn't be able to
through
go back
it.
in.
So I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Fuck. I had to like go back to a previous save point. I blitzed it past everything after that, but I was just like, I immediately thought of Damiani, and I was like, yo, I hope Damiani does not run into this situation I did. And thankfully, chat knew and told you ahead of time.
Well, yeah, I definitely like that setup that it was a gauntlet because before you had to go through like Hyrule Castle for like the first time in Breath of the Wild, and that was kind of the gauntlet, but again because the problems of the dungeon, the temples we talked about already, you could freely climb anywhere, so you could just bypass most of Hyrule Castle just to get to the entrance to fight Ganon.
Right.
This time there was no bypass. You could run past enemies, but you still had to run through the Gloom Gauntlet.
Yeah,
Had to
for
get
sure.
there.
Yeah, so you still, and that tension, even when you're running around your enemies, they're still shooting at you, chasing you. It's like, I have the tension here, so I kind of like that. And that's maybe a testament to maybe rethinking the temples with that tension. Like, maybe the choice is I don't have to fight this enemy. Maybe I can run to another room and get safety, but that forced progression there was kind of nice.
At Breath of the Wild for the like first half of the Ganon fight, I literally accidentally stumbled on the room. Somehow appeared in the cutscene started. I was like, oh shit.
That's funny.
But this one I really felt like I had to, it was like you said, a gauntlet.
The
Absolutely.
Ganondorf fight was one of the best fights they've had in the Zelda
Dude.
series too. Absolutely.
No, sorry. The moment he dodged, when you do your flurry attack, like you dodge, do your flurry, like, all right, boy, we're going to hit you. And then, bam, he does his backflip. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, sick, dude.
It's the Simpsons, the Ralph from the Simpsons meme. I'm in danger. I was like, oh no.
I was like, wait, is he going to flurry attack me now? I'm like,
Improvements all around on the boss fights in this
dude,
game.
and like he had like mechanics, like tossing like
he was
AoEs
great.
out at you and waves of attacks.
Yeah, it was really good.
rushing you.
I was really happy
I was like,
with that fight.
all right, this is good.
And of course, the end where he turns into the dragon, Zelda shows up. That was really awesome.
That was a
It's like not the
spectacle.
craziest difficulty-wise or anything
it
like that,
was
but it's
really
just
easy.
fucking sick to
Exactly.
watch. You're like,
Flying around,
yeah, it's just
Zelda
really
catching
cool.
you, and
It's a
like
spectacle, yeah.
Yeah,
so sick.
That is what I was saying earlier. It is a spectacle, and then that's such such a dramatic fight because of like that presentation of how they and the music, and then like that finale. That was a really good finish of having to like dive after Zelda when she transforms back into.
That's literally, it's like Castle in the Sky.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
and
like
Spirited
reaching and like
Away.
the camera shots they're using for it, and like the slow tension of like how you're holding, like extend out your arm, and it's like because they've done that so much in the game. Everything was like about handshakes and like holding out your hand, like all the.
That's
like,
why you should have
champions.
kept your arm at the end of the game. You should have kept your arm. Nintendo are cowards.
Robert wanted it back.
Robert
His
wanted it
ghost-
back.
Robert,
His
wait,
ghost
that was
wanted
the other
back.
thing. Robert was a ghost in the first part of the game and then just disappeared.
ran out of ghost power.
Okay.
I guess. I don't know. Like the King of Hyrule's in the first game is a ghost for a little bit, then he just fucks off.
He just fucks off. Yeah, you're
so
right.
I don't know how it
You're
works.
right.
It is what it is.
And I was like, oh, he's going to be a character. Nope, he's gone. He's out of here.
That finale was really good.
So cool.
Made up for any of the shortcomings for Breath of the Wild's finale. And like was like
Proper
outstanding.
finale.
It was like outstanding.
Really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the best Zelda finales. Probably the best that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And like diving, landing on Ganon's back, and then like having to like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, so sick.
It was really satisfying. Like I'm
Yeah.
glad they nailed that, knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, despite how much I complained about this game throughout this spoiler mode, but it is a fantastic game, an incredible game. One of my favorite playthroughs I remember playing through it.
Yeah.
It's just fucking so into it, dude. Time flew by. This game is
yeah.
awesome,
Yeah.
and I can't wait to see what they do next with Zelda, obviously.
Yeah. Shout outs to like this again, side quest. I had a really good time with a lot of the
Dude!
side
Oh,
Wait,
quests.
Sorry.
side quest.
Yeah.
Addison,
Yeah.
the sign quest was like my favorite thing in the game, or one of my favorite things. I
Yeah.
love that
They
shit.
did. I think they did.
It's so
these side quests.
stupid, like the task of like putting like stacking rocks up in like
The stupidest
janky
way.
shit ever, and getting it to where I just love that shit. I love that.
Yeah, they
Wait,
definitely.
what happens if you do all of them?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I probably didn't find them all.
Ah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I liked it. What were the other ones, like the fixing the way they repurposed existing parts, like all those giant dragon bone structures and those hidden caves in
Oh,
the first
yeah.
game, they're back.
Mm-hmm.
There's an NPC. I found one before I activated the quest, and then it told me the quest name. I'm like, oh, and I got it. It's like this dude wants you to repair and take photos of these structures.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wait a second. Oh, this is a cool way to redo this. So yeah, it just got you more involved in the world, and it's like added more depth.
Yeah.
And it was cool because like a lot of them were about either using your powers or exploration or solving a puzzle. And so that definitely was like, very appreciated that they
Yeah.
improved the side quest structure.
Shout out to the Monster Brothers. I know you didn't
I
find
didn't
it.
get that
Did
yet.
you
Where the
finally
Fuck
find them
are
yet?
those guys?
Yeah,
They're
it's-
hard to find.
The Bubble
Yeah.
Frog guys.
One of
right?
them,
I still
the
haven't gotten them.
brother from the first game goes to Terrytown eventually, and you like get monster. You take photos of monsters for him, and then you
Okay.
put some like statues up, and you can like
Yeah.
assemble them. The
Okay.
white brother, he's like the white color one. He's harder to find. You give him the gem
Bubble
things, but you
Frog?
never found him, dude.
not yet.
I never found him either.
I found him really early.
Yeah,
I guess that's part of the beauty of this game.
Yeah, I'm
is these
still exploring.
conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still exploring. There's so much to see and do. Yeah, it's yeah, like you can easily finish the game in like
Yeah,
more than
it's-
half.
it's really
you
cool.
have more time ahead of you than behind.
Definitely
you.
the Elden Ring moments of like, I found this shit, you found this shit, you didn't find
Yeah.
that kind of thing, which is really special. I do appreciate that. And I gotta stress, the shrines are so
Oh,
good in
yes.
this game, dude. Making some fucking jank like sled thing to go across a rail, and like, I guess I
So
did that
fun.
okay. Or like
Yeah.
having
Oh.
monster truck tires like go over lava and like really cool shit. So fun. The hot air balloons. Oh my
Oh yeah,
god,
so
they were
many times
so
I literally
fun.
I was like, I don't know about all that. I'm just building a bridge, and I just
love
built
the
a bridge
shrines.
across
Did
the
you
whole
guys do
thing.
the Top Gun shrine where you have to like take off and land on a runway?
Yes.
Yeah.
I definitely did one like that.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Dude, they're
I call
so
it the Top Gun
creative,
shrine.
man.
I did all of them.
Dude, shout out Nintendo. Way to go on those.
Yeah.
I fucking love
And
it.
they were all so different.
They're so fun. Yeah, it's so
happy
fun.
when I was like, I feel smarter than you all. Like one of them was like Marble Madness, where you had to like roll balls down like these like ramps or whatever,
Yeah.
but like they started to get like more crazy, where you had to like and-
the like curved one that was like that.
All I did
that
was walk with the
enraging.
ball with Ultra Hand down. I'm like, so all I have to do is drop it like 1 inch and it counts. Raise it a little bit above, drop it, ding. I'm like, I don't even have to do your dumb puzzle. I'm just going. I'm like, this
There was one. It wasn't a shrine, but it was like one of those like hexagons that you have to like shine light onto.
Yep.
So I just got high enough and then just
Yeah.
shot a bunch of bright bloom seeds at it, and it worked. It was so cool.
See, that's like the best part.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they added more. They added even more shrines this time around.
Do either of you have final thoughts? I feel like I've kind of said everything I need to say about this game.
The only thing I want to talk about is the last like memory, the Zelda memory where she eats the tear.
Yeah.
And then pulling the sword out of her head.
Yeah.
Oh,
cool.
gosh.
Yeah,
I
great
thought
moment.
those were like incredible.
That was awesome.
Scary. Also, because like, you're seeing a woman sacrifice her life in order to, save the future, but
For thousands of years.
thousands of years. Like
She's crazy.
that's really dark.
Yeah, that's intense.
It's
Intense shit.
This is the edgy cousin of Breath of the Wild, and then pulling the sword out of her head. Like I did not expect that at all. Though, can you get up to the dragon before that?
I don't
impossible.
know.
Don't think so.
I don't
Maybe
know if it's
someone
flying
will
around.
figure out a way, but I think you have to trigger that last memory before it allows you. And there's 3
Okay.
ways to trigger it, apparently.
What?
Yeah, you can trigger it through a Master Sword. The Great Deku Tree quest line can open up, and you can trigger it that way. There's 3 ways.
That's how I did it.
Yeah, there's 3 ways that you can either get all the memories,
Yeah.
and then you can do it that way. There's like the Great Deku Tree will clue you in on how to do it, and you can do it that way. And then there's something else. There is a 3rd way. I remember during the stream I figured out what it was, but there are at least 3 ways you can end up making Dragon Zelda appear and getting the Master Sword.
Ooh, okay.
So that was pretty cool that you could do it multiple ways.
Yeah,
and
it is cool.
that was
Cool
one of the best ways of getting the Master Sword, like the cinematic, like the scene too. Was like pretty
Yeah.
good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Anything, Damiani? Final thoughts?
Yeah, I very impressed with like its technical level. Like, yeah, I like the shortcomings I'm saying is just because it being like a direct sequel and having like higher expectations. I just feel like I'm being more critical because the first game was doing so much new and unique, and this being a follow up, I feel like there should be the development team should not get as much of a pass, I guess is the way to say it. That's not what I'm trying to say, but like maybe like hold them a little bit higher standard because it's like you've done this once. You maybe know a little bit better, so like I'm expecting more of you, and they did do more, and they did deliver on that in different ways. I just feel like some of the holdover stuff was a little bit more attention, and that would have been like near perfection for me. Or like just as good of an experience as the first one for me. But this is a lot better than the first one. But like there's still things I enjoyed about playing Breath of the Wild, a little bit more than this. So like each one has its like highs and lows with me. And again, yeah, I just would like to see, I still don't think I want more with the dungeons. Like that's like the biggest sticking point. Like if they nailed the dungeons, like I would be like over the moon about this game.
I think the world exploration is incredible.
I'd
but
probably be
agree.
able to say like this is like the best Zelda game, but I can't because I'm not satisfied with the dungeons.
To me, Breath of the Wild is freshman year of high school. You're at a new school. Not if you're me. I went to the same high school as middle school, but you're at a new school. You're exploring. You're finding new stuff. And Tears of the Kingdom is senior year. You're just, all the nooks and crannies. You're familiar with this place, but there's still a little bit left to find out.
Okay.
I
I like that
sophomore
analogy.
year.
I like that
Or
analogy.
sophomore year.
Okay.
Nah, we're either going to work next year or we're going to college.
Let's go to college. Yeah, he's going like here we go.
So we're
Getting our own dorm room. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. I think that's going to do it for us. I had a good time talking about this.
Me too.
Oh,
Glad we finally did this.
What?
Link's house turned to Zelda's house. What the hell?
I left a flower on her bed.
She took over.
She told my house.
Took over, man.
I know people are like, oh,
That's
it's
what
like
it's
it's
like to have
they
a-
actually live together. I don't know about that. I think she stole my house.
I don't know about that.
She stole my house. She was eminent
That
domain
made me
to steal my
cry.
house.
Finding your hairband under.
Oh, okay, that was
That made
weird.
me so emotional, and when I found her like journal and everywhere like in your old house, I left a silent princess
That's
flower
funny.
in her bed.
The RP, dude.
I was like, where'd all my cool swords and shields I stored here? Where'd you put
Told
them?
to toss them out. They didn't fit the
I did
aesthetic.
like a comedy skit. I was like, yeah, I donated those to charity. You were too old for
It
those.
didn't fit the aesthetic.
Where's my amiibo gear?
Zelda!
You're too old for amiibos now.
My wife threw out all my cool shit.
Cool. Thanks you two for chatting. That was fun. Check us out on patreon.com/easyallies. If you want to support us, we'd greatly appreciate it. Till next time, everybody. So long.